Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Life. My name is Julia Masalska, and I'm your host. And I am joined today by the amazing Lizzie Campbell. Hey! Hi, Lizzie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
It's so great to have you here. We're all super excited to see some logo designing today. And welcome everybody in the chat. We have Robert, Fergie. Hi, Fergie. Good to see you. We have Gareth here. We have Gal. We have Stony here. Voodooval. Hi. So there's a whole party going on in the chat. Come say hi. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And also feel free to join us on be.net/Adobe Live if you are currently watching us on YouTube. This is where you will be able to ask us questions in the live chat and just follow the conversation. Cool. All right. And Wade is joining us. We also see Paco here in the chat. And Lamont, my friend Lamont. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. All right. So let's jump right into this. Lizzie, we're so grateful to have you here. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, what we are going to be working on during those 2 days of live streams. And just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. So I'm Lizzie Campbell. I am a branding web designer. I run Asteria, which is what you see here, which is like a full service brand and web design. We focus primarily on like e-commerce and editorial and stuff like that. So you can see this is my kind of curated portfolio, but I would say my style is like somewhere between modern and bohemian, if that kind of makes sense. So like lots of like fun colors, but I do kind of focus on like typography and somewhat minimal. So yeah, and my Instagram is here too, Asteria Studio Co. Share a lot of the same fun stuff. And we were just chatting before we went live about reels and experimenting with things like that. But so yeah, today we are going to be doing a brand identity for a home goods shop. It's fictional. It's the kind that I wish existed. Well, I've kind of like based it on a store that I really like here in my hometown. So just kind of one of those fun stores that sells like candles and pillows and really cute like stuff like that. So like gifts.
I love that. So cozy.
Yeah. So should we just jump in instead of show you my PDF?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
First of all, I want to tell you, I love your portfolio. I love your logo mark. It looks so cool.
Oh,
and everybody go make sure to follow Lizzie on Instagram. Do you want to share your handle real quick once again?
Yeah.
So that everybody gets it. It's Asteria Studio Co. So go follow her, check out her work, check out her reels. She has a lot of fun stuff there, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So I will kind of dive in. So I've named our brand that we are going to be creating Sable Home. So this is kind of like a very condensed version of what I would put together for my clients. So typically for like branding and logo clients, I do a whole lot of like brand strategy and discovery up front so that we kind of have an idea of, you know, what we're diving into before I ever touch Illustrator. So first of all, I just kind of wanted to list out what we're kind of going to be working on. So main logo, alternate logos, color palette, typography, some brand marks, and a pattern. And then hopefully we'll have time probably tomorrow to do some fun little extra stuff like postcard designs, tissue paper, hang tags, and maybe some candle labels because I'm obsessed with candles.
Oh my gosh, I love candles so much. You know, I don't know if you find yourself doing that too, but sometimes when I'm really stressed out and I have a lot of deadlines coming up and I just like to create myself this little, you know, like a ritual, kind of lighting the candles, putting on some nice music, adjusting the lighting. So everything's nice and comfortable and cozy. And I'm kind of ready to take on this last stretch of the project. Do you ever do that?
Oh yeah. Sometimes I feel like that's a really good fix for like if I'm just kind of like in a creative rut. I love to just like light a candle, like turn on my favorite playlist and just kind of like get in the zone. Sometimes that really like helps
Yeah,
kind of knock things out. So yes, candles have amazing powers.
that's so true. What's your favorite playlist that you listen to while working?
um, There's one that Spotify curated that's called like my favorite coffee house or something like that. So
Oh,
just kind of
okay.
like fun, like acoustic folky kind of things that I can remember hearing like in the coffee shop when I was in college. So
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So exciting. Well, okay, let's get going.
Yeah. So this is kind of the mood board inspiration that I put together for what we're going to be working on today. When I do mood boards, I try to get a good like balance of kind of like imagery as well as, you know, some like typography and colors as well, just to kind of like really pull it all together and to make sure we're not just like pulling inspiration from other people's design work as well. So I pulled a lot of these like storefront images. Um, again, like I'm such a sucker for like well laid out like stores and boutiques. So
Mm-hmm.
I take a lot of design and like color inspiration from things like that. So I'm calling this kind of direction that we're going in, this like modern bohemian. So I want the colors to be like kind of earthy and fun, but not like super in your face, I guess. And we'll kind of look at that when I dive into Illustrator. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so and here is, oh, well, here's some color, I guess, possibilities that I put together. I'm just like
Mm-hmm.
really digging this like moss green right now.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, it has been one of my favorite colors since like May, I think.
I
I've
know
been
it.
using it so much.
I know. I never really liked green all that much, I feel like, but just
Yeah,
all
same
of a
here.
sudden I've just been like green everything, like emerald
Yeah,
and like sage green are like,
yeah,
yeah.
I love it. And we have a question in the chat while we're kind of speaking about the creative direction. What's the most important thing to have on the creative direction board? Like, what's the most important to take note of?
Yeah. Well, so when I put together things for clients, I always like to kind of, usually I'll like, I have little numbers here and I'll kind of call out like what I was specifically like honing in on for each thing. I didn't do that for this just because it's kind of my own little party in my head. But yeah, so I kind of like to say like, oh, I think that, you know, for your brand, this kind of combination of typography would look really good. And this is kind of like what we're going to explore once I start designing, just so that nothing is like a surprise. I found that that's been really helpful in like cutting down a lot of like client revisions and stuff. Just kind of like giving them a really as in-depth as possible without having actually designed anything, like direction, so that they kind of can say like yes or no or make some tweaks before we like really dive into Illustrator and then have to like redo everything. Yeah. So
Awesome.
I'm going to open up Illustrator and I've put together some colors and some fonts that I feel like that's always like the most time consuming portion of the thing.
Mhm.
So we'll do some like discovery probably, but I just wanted to like have something to start out with because I'm sure nobody wants to
Yeah.
watch me choose fonts for 2 hours.
Although that can be so fun too. But
Yeah.
my artboards look exactly the same in the beginning. I
Yeah.
kind of like select a bunch of different fonts and try to experiment and see what's possible. And then we have another quick question by Rob. Do you have a creative brief that the client fills out in advance, or how do you figure out, you know, what the art direction should be?
Yeah. So typically, kind of depending on how like high touch the packages that we're working on, I'll either send them a questionnaire that they can fill out that has all sorts of information about, you know, their business, things like when they got started, and even include things like their personal styles, like fashion and home, just because I think that that really is all encompassing in it. And then, of course, asks about their, you know, ideal clients or customers. Or sometimes we will like get on a Zoom call like this and do, it's really like the same questions, but then like I can discuss things with them or like prompt them further. So that sometimes gets even better results.
Yeah.
So just kind of
I
like
love
pulling
doing that
out.
too. I love doing that
Yeah.
too. I think having a conversation and really kind of digging deep into the questions and trying to understand their audience, and sometimes even hearing stories from their clients, you know, why exactly they're choosing their exact brand and product, is really valuable sometimes. And just like taking time in that research phase, I think is super important to be able to create something that really works for the audience, right?
Yeah, I think that's something that I've discovered recently is like the research phase is sometimes like the more in depth and the more like important thing. By the time you like get to this stage, then you really have like a good idea of kind of like what you're doing and what your goal is. But today, since it's a little bit different, since this is just kind of like a passion project, so I kind of get to do whatever I want to. But in a way, it's like almost a little bit more daunting too, just because
you're your own art director
today. Exactly. So I'm like, as you can see, there's like quite a few different kinds of like fonts and stuff, because I'm like, I don't really know I don't have a vision. So another thing that I have over here is I usually just put like a quick list of like things that I want to include. So like I like to do like something with like the date they were established, especially if it was a while ago, so that it kind of like gives that like
they're proud about existing in the market for over 5 years, right?
Exactly. And then I just wrote down some like little taglines that I might experiment with, but I want to start just kind of like pulling some of these in. So I think I said like my style tends to be like more typography focused for like the main logos and like the kind of like main portions of the branding. And then I like to kind of bring in some more like illustrative or icon like based things for a lot of times like the web design. There's no like right or wrong. It's just like kind of what I like. But so I'm really digging this, and I'm really digging these two, which are the same. I just can never decide if I want to do like the caps or like all lowercase. But so another thing, so when I design, I typically just do like, I'll like copy and paste everything like 37 times just because I'm afraid.
Perfect. Better to copy and adjust things than, wanting to go back to the previous version and it's gone.
Exactly. So typically I like this. I'm going to just create outlines of this so it's a little bit easier to work with. And
can you, for everybody who's kind of a beginner, what's the difference between an outline text and live text?
Yeah, so live text, you can like retype it, which is big if you're still like figuring things out. It's like actual text. You can resize it using, the text options over here. But when you create outlines, it turns it into like the vector thing. So then you can kind of go in, like a lot of times what I like to do is go in with like the pen tool or something and start kind of like fiddling with it, I guess, so that it's a little bit more custom. So that's kind of why I like to do that. But I will say, like, definitely make sure you have one like live text version of it. Like that's why I copy everything, because then if you realize you like wrote something wrong or something like that, you can't easily go back and change it. You have to like redo everything.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, for instance, I kind of want to see what this looks like if it has like
sharper edges.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit more edginess.
No, yeah.
I love to do that too. I love to do that too. Then sometimes I just grab some of the vector points and just move them around. Or, when you're in vector format, when you're already, live text is also in vector format. It's endlessly scalable, right?
Yeah.
But it's different. It's a different kind of work. Once you've outlined the text, you'll be able to access the vector points actually, right? So those points that are interconnected and the curves, you'll be able to adjust and customize your text. And that's also, have you ever kind of got into the situation where you have to copyright something and you have that specific logo that you want to copyright? And I think once you've customized it, then you can actually copyright it and say, hey, this is my design, right?
Yeah, I think that's my understanding as well. So that's another reason like I really like to kind of play with things, especially in like the main logo, because I would say it provides a little bit more value. Obviously, like choosing specific typography is a skill in and of itself for sure, but kind of like customizing it makes it, 100% unique to your client or your business or whatever it is that you're working with.
Absolutely. Another question here by Mark. Hi, Lisa, just wondering which command you use to turn live text into outlines.
Yeah, so I have over here, I don't know, I hope, yeah, you can see it as quick actions. I just have this create outlines, but I believe you can also go to type, where are we, create outlines, or it's Shift Command O on a Mac. I'm terrible at remembering to use the keyboard shortcuts. I always just do things the long way.
No, that's fine. I really love, by the way, that you're using the properties panel. I think this panel is really useful because it always shows you the tools that you need depending on the specific object that you've selected or the specific tool that you've chosen. So guys, if you've been wanting to customize your workspace, properties panel, I think is a must. It's such a great panel to kind of have around.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I really like to do, or that I use a lot, is the align option. So I love to distribute the spacing like I just did. So now it's I don't love that, but I like things to be all nicely in the same little box sometimes.
Especially when you're creating a layout and then you have boxes of text that you want to kind of distribute evenly. Yeah, I love that. And by the way, if you wanted to activate the properties panel in Illustrator, you can go to Window and click on Properties. Make sure the check mark is checked in front of it. So then you'll have the properties panel active.
Yeah. So now, this is typically a lot of what I do when I'm first starting out with, with creating a logo, creating branding, is just playing around with it, trying different things, just seeing kind of what I like, what I don't. I feel I don't think I mentioned this, but we were talking about this before we went live, that I'm, a self-taught designer. So I did not go to design school. I have a journalism degree, which actually comes in surprisingly handy sometimes. But so I feel I don't know if this is how a lot of other people do it, but I feel I do things very just intuitively. Obviously you're working from a creative brief, and I'll go back and forth and look at that a lot more too, but it's just kind of playing with puzzle pieces almost, and just waiting until it kind of clicks into place for me.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, it's great to know that you're a self-taught designer. I think it gives a lot of hope to everybody here who is just starting out maybe. So let us know in the chat if you're a self-taught designer or if you're starting out learning design. We'd love to know that. Cool. And there was a question, what's the name of the script that you've been using above
this one? This is Park Shore.
Park Shore.
Yeah.
Cool. It's cute. I like it. Nice. I also love this one. And this one is Palm Canyon Drive. Oh, isn't that by Chutzpah?
Yeah, they're incredible.
Yeah, I love them. Yay. So this font you can get on Chutzpah Design. Let's see their website. chutzpahdesign.com. I'm gonna shoot it into the chat box so y'all can copy
they're incredible.
Yeah, so it's a team of two sisters. I think they're twins, right? Twin sisters.
I think they might be. This is another one of theirs, Beverly
Drive. Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
So cool. I love that.
Yeah, they have a book too. If anyone else is self-taught, yeah, that was super helpful. I believe it's called Business and Design and Stuff or something like that.
Let me take a look at exactly. So I don't want to give you a wrong information. Freelance and Business and Stuff, it's called, and you can buy it either as an ebook, which I have both actually. I think once you buy the paperback, they also send you an ebook as well. So that's also available on their website. I'm also gonna share the link real quick. And they've been also here on Adobe Live designing branding, and they're both really, really fun, really bubbly, outgoing young ladies. So it's always fun to see them in action. And yeah, this book I think is incredible. It definitely gives you a good kind of head start if you are starting freelancing and you don't know anything about, you know, how to write an email, how to organize my paperwork, how to you know, how to what's like the right branding design process, you know, all of these things that kind of give you that knowledge that you only get through experience, which I think is very valuable. You know, it's not something that you can, not even if you go to university, I think in design universities, that's not something that you usually learn, you know.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from a lot of people, or like seen a lot on like Instagram and stuff, is like even if you do go to design school, which obviously is like incredibly valuable, it doesn't really teach you that side of things necessarily. I'm sure that maybe there are some programs that do. So yeah, I would highly recommend that. I read their book when I first took my business full time in 2018, and it was really, really helpful. So highly recommend that.
Yeah. Super cool. Yeah, I love it. And another thing that I always recommend, and I've actually talked to them, hey guys, like sponsor me, but there is this amazing platform for writing invoices when you're a freelancer, writing contracts. And it's a platform that's made for different types of creatives, so photographers, copywriters, different types of creatives. And one of the creative fields they also support is graphic design, and there's also marketing and so on. So it's called Bonsai. It's basically like a platform where you can do client management, right? Cool. It's so cool. I've been using that, and it's been also really helpful to be able to seem very professional, you know, when you do something. When you send out a contract, it comes digitally to the client can sign right away. And then the invoices, they can also pay online with a card, with a credit card, or with a bank account. So it looks very professional, makes it easy for the client to kind of go through the paperwork process. Definitely recommend. What do you use for that?
I use Honeybook, which is pretty similar, but they have like, yeah, you can like send invoices, send estimates. They have, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, they have contract templates, which was really helpful when I first started. So those are really, really nice. Yeah, I like Honeybook a lot, but I've heard a lot of really good things about Bonsai. So I'm gonna have to check that out because I might switch, but
yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, as I said, hello Bonsai. You need to be sponsoring us.
Yeah, honestly, get on it.
Yeah. No, and they're also really supportive. So they have like this live chat where you can ask questions and all. So yeah, if you get the Fabas book, the book by Chutzpah Design, and then get Hello Bonsai, you'll already have a really good kickstart into your freelance design career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just kind of like browsing through Adobe fonts because I am sick of all the fonts I have on my computer.
So do you have some tips on like how to look for fonts, or what are your favorite features, let's say, on Adobe fonts?
Well, I love doing like typing in whatever it is that I am like looking for a font for. So in this case, I had like Sable already up there. I might actually just change it to like this because that's kind of what I was looking for, like a subheader font. So I really like doing that. And then obviously like this is just like everything. So if you kind of have an idea of what you're looking for, then you can go over here. So I am pretty sure I want a sans serif font. So I'm going to go ahead and click that just so that we don't have to go through every single font. I also really love that you can like kind of choose by like weight or width, or kind of like what, you know, if there's a specific thing that you're thinking of, that really helps it go a lot quicker, I would say.
I also love their luxury collection. So if you're designing a luxury brand, there are a lot of really cool fonts that do look a little bit more on the elegant side of things.
Yeah, they have a lot of really great, I think it's their font packs, where they kind of like curate the collections and stuff. Those are really fun to like just dig through.
Yeah, I love the outdoor. They have like an outdoor one. I've been actually using that the other day. I got a couple fonts from them. I think they come with like 20 fonts, and you can literally pick and choose. So it's fun. a friend of mine so I do a lot of stuff for my friends. Do you also do that, Lizzie?
Yeah, from time to time. I feel like there's been a few times where like a friend of mine has been doing something that needs graphic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, a friend of mine just launched his business, and I've been also doing like logo design and all of that for like a decal for their truck, and
Oh, that's fun.
a lot of fun stuff. But yeah, I love doing stuff for friends. I think it's a great way to learn also. So if you're a beginner and just kind of starting off, connect with friends who have businesses. Maybe you can help them. You can learn while you're doing it, and that also has a chance to actually be being produced, right? So
yeah,
what if your friend then uses the logo that you've designed on their website, or maybe they are going to do like a truck decal or a print business cards. You can ask them for a sample, maybe take pictures and put it into your portfolio, and there you go with a nice portfolio piece.
Yeah, that's like a win-win. So another thing, like basically what we're doing right now is like a passion project. That's another really great way to kind of beef up your portfolio, especially if you're just starting out. But I know, like I said, sometimes they're a little bit more daunting because you don't have somebody like telling you what they're looking for. So if you have like friends or family, or some people I know have done like kind of pro bono work for like nonprofits or something like that. So then, you're kind of learning, you're building your portfolio, but then also like somebody is actually like benefiting from it as well, which I think is fun.
I love that. Yeah, that's how I started, learning graphic design. And also, it kind of is like working with a client, because in any case, even if it's your friend, they're going to give you some feedback. So you will have to kind of take in that feedback. You will have to be able to react it in a way, maybe justify your design decisions, maybe present them with different solutions, right? Different options and so on. So that's kind of how you learn how to work with clients, even though they're not real kind of, people that you don't know, like real world clients, but more on the friend side or family side. But it's a good way to learn, definitely.
And it can be kind of nice too, because then it's kind of daunting when you're first starting out to get that feedback from clients. So if you have like your friend giving it to you, it's maybe a little less scary. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's true. Although it can get a little bit like more upsetting because it's your friend and you're kind of like, you feel like you're doing them a favor, right? Yeah. Oh, I love that font. Oh, okay. So this is a rotate artboard that you just kind of are in. So if you go to view, and then
rotate view.
Oh yeah, there we go. Rotate view. Yeah. I was still looking in the menu. I was kind of like going from top to bottom to top. Okay, good. Perfect. That feature, by the way, is really awesome if you are an illustrator and you're working with like a stylus with like a Wacom pen, and you want to sketch something. Sometimes you need to rotate the artboard, kind of like when you're working in real paper, right? To get that perfect curve in, you have to rotate the artboard. This is the reason why this feature was kind of brought into the world, because there were a lot of requests of people who are illustrators, or maybe even designers who just like to work with custom vectors, who are like to draw custom vectors. And even in your case, it could be an option when you start, let's say, working on the little icon to add to your brand, right? Something like that. So that can be also valuable if you are working with a stylus pen. Anyways.
Yeah, I can see how that would be, because like I use my iPad from time to time to like draw like hand drawn things, and I'm constantly like switching it all over the place.
So on the iPad you can do it now too, I believe. When you take the artboard with 2 fingers and like turn it, you'll be able to turn the artboard there as well now.
Cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, we were all so excited when Illustrator on the iPad came out last year. Oh my gosh. And so Andrew, who did the daily creative challenges before this, and we got the chance to actually present the first takes of the community. because we were kind of in the beta program while Illustrator on the iPad was still kind of in beta and just available for a specific community. And we got to play around with it. So it was really exciting to finally share it with the world, you know, during Adobe Max last year. It was awesome.
Okay. So if anyone's wondering, I'm kind of playing around with the glyphs of this font. So I know, at least on mine, if you like highlight it, usually if there's like another glyph or something that you can like do alternates, you can click on it and kind of switch back and forth. But you can also open, I believe, type and glyphs, and the whole thing will pop up, which this is a massive typeface. So there's lots and lots of fun things to look at, but you can kind of explore all that. And that to me is another really good way to make things more custom for your clients too. So it's a little bit more in depth than just having like typed it out, I guess, in a font. And that's fun.
Yeah.
No, not fun. So
that's cool. I love it. I love to play around with that too. Have you ever designed typeface?
I've tried once or twice. It was shockingly difficult. So I haven't like gone back for it, but it's something that I would love to kind of like go back and really like learn a little bit more.
What did you use? What software did you use to create it?
Gosh, I feel like it was some plugin that I bought for Illustrator.
Was it Font Self Maker?
Yes, that's what it was.
Oh, and you found it difficult? Okay, I think the only thing that I found difficult in Font Self Maker was to really adjust the spacing, the kerning between the letters.
I think, well, I also don't think it helps. The first thing I tried to make was a like hand lettered script font, because I feel like, and so I was trying to make all these different like alternate ligatures and like glyphs and stuff like that. And I feel like it just was, I think I made it harder than I needed to. So I definitely want to try again, and maybe like start with a nice sans serif so I can like ease myself into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm kind of adjusting this S because I really like the lowercase italic S, and I wasn't like a huge fan of the sharp angles on the uppercase one. So typically I'll either use the like delete anchor point or the eraser tool to just kind of like get rid of some of this stuff. I think that one's good. But so I think I'm going to actually
really interesting to see a process how you are actually adjusting the letters.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's something that I've kind of recently in the past like 2 years started doing a little bit more of, because it was really daunting to me at first. Again, like being self-taught, like sometimes there's that like imposter syndrome too that like creeps in. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, once I kind of got the hang of it, it was really fun. And now I'm kind of like addicted to it, I feel like.
So you're working with the eraser tool to kind of remove the parts that you don't need, and then you're taking the specific element and applying it.
So that's not cute, but it's definitely like I feel like a very hit or miss process sometimes. But yeah, a lot of times like I'll use like shapes and stuff, and again, like I have no idea, this is like what people typically do, but the pen tool and I aren't always friends, so oops. So yeah, I don't really think, this is another thing too, like it's just a lot of experimentation, and like I'm not sold on that direction now that I'm kind of like putting it together. So I feel like I'm just kind of leave that over there for now.
But I like the thinking. I think the sharpness of the S that was there before the capital S will give it a very kind of like aggressive feel, right? And you don't and this brand is very soft, it's very cozy, right? It's supposed to be a little bit more rounded. And so yeah, I do get it. I do get your decision making here, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a lot of experimentation, I guess is really what I'd call it, and kind of figuring out like what you like. So like, I'm kind of digging that. And cool. I'm gonna go back to kind of our creative direction and glance at some things. Yeah, I feel like that's helpful. I always kind of keep my whatever like brand strategy or creative direction like document that I put together. I always keep that like open, or sometimes even print it out too, depending on if I want to switch back and forth constantly. But I'll kind of keep that open just because I feel like it's good to kind of check that like back and forth and make sure you're like on the right track and doing the right things. So I'm gonna go back to Adobe fonts.
Cool. And there is another question in the chat by Janelle asking, when you receive feedback, how is your revision process?
Yes. So for my studio, what I do is considered the one concept method. So I will do kind of like what we're looking at currently, which is put together like an entire kind of fleshed out brand identity, I guess, so that they can kind of see everything that how I'm kind of envisioning it all like plays together. So I'll do like mockups and stuff like that too. Because previously I would just kind of like put together a bunch of different logo like options and just like give them like black and white ones, and they're just kind of like, so I found that this approach works a lot better from the get-go, just to help them envision everything and help kind of cut down on unnecessary revisions. But so I'll put that all together in a presentation once I kind of finish it, and just kind of have everything colors and typography. So I'll send that off to them. And I usually create a little like screen recording too, just kind of walking them through it and giving them a little bit more information behind like what I was thinking when I did certain things, or like why I chose certain like colors or fonts over different ones. And then usually, depending on the client, they'll either email me back or we can like hop on a call as well. So, usually I'll try to coach them to give me more helpful feedback than just like, oh, make the logo bigger or like make it pop, because those are the dreaded words.
I love that. I think that's like, that's feedback that all of us get at some point in their life.
Oh yeah,
make the
for
logo
sure.
bigger. Yeah, I love that. I love that you're talking about kind of like coaching and guiding the client. And I think so usually what I get, so I have experimented with different methods also presenting my work to the client. Sometimes it would be I would present 3 different concepts and they're just like slightly fleshed out. And then one that I prefer, I kind of maybe flesh it out a little bit more, just because I imagine it kind of going further and taking the next step. Yeah. So when I present that to them, usually it's always like, oh, can we do a combination between 1 and 2? Or can we do a combination between 3 and 4? Or can we take this from 1, this from 2, and that thing from from concept number 3? Yep. So it's always, I think that's the reason why it's so important for us to really understand the target audience, because then we can really design for the audience specifically. And then, with that one concept method, which I think is also really, really great, we can keep on improving on it over time, rather than having different concepts and then picking one of those and then fleshing it out, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I know the dreaded like Frankenstein like concepts. I would always get that in the early days. So yeah, definitely
Frankenstein concepts. I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, just kind of like working with them to kind of provide like what is going to be helpful feedback to you. So like that's one thing that I do up front, is like give them a little document that's like, here's like helpful feedback, here's not so helpful feedback. And I try to make it really collaborative. So if they say like, oh, I don't like that color, then we kind of go back and forth and I say, well, that's totally fair. Like, what are you feeling about that? Like, why do you not like it? And then, kind of reminding them to think of their clients and customers too, because I think it's important to love your own brand, but in the end, like you're trying to attract like clients and customers. So they're the ones that really have to be drawn in by it at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
So
cool.
I've had an idea. I want to see if I can figure out how to make an H that's still legible, but sort of looks like a little house.
Oh.
So I'm kind of just playing around with lines and forms and stuff like that.
That. A little house.
That's kind of cute, actually. I'll make it a little bit. It's so hard because I do like little elements like this from time to time, but then also like legibility is like the most important thing still, and kind of keeping it like cute, but also like so that people still know what you are trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And Janelle's asking in the chat, notice you use the eyedropper tool to change your font and the color at the same time, correct?
Yeah, you can do that. So basically, if you use the eyedropper tool on like live text, so if I have like this selected, then it'll like just automatically take on the font, like size, any like changes you made to it. So if there's like any different like kerning or anything like that, it'll take on that and the color. So if you want to like, you know, if you have something else typed out that you want in the exact same treatment as whatever, then I just use that a lot. It's quicker. That's one shortcut.
And that only works in the character style. So in the live text. So if you have not outlined it yet.
Right. Yep. So
and then you can also yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
If you've outlined it, then like if you do the eyedropper tool, all it will take is like the color from it. So
exactly. So, and there is different things that you can sample. You can sample the outline, the stroke.
Yeah.
You can sample colors. You can even sample gradients.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So, so yeah, that's there's a lot of stuff that you can do with the eyedropper tool.
Yeah, that's one of my, I feel like that's one of the ones that I like end up using a lot.
Yeah. And by the way, the shortcut for the eyedropper tool is the key I on your keyboard. It's one of the ones that I use the most. And then I also use the keys V and A a lot for selection and direct selection tool. I love those as well. And then the outline tool, which is Command Shift and O on the Mac. Love that one as well.
So I'm going to use, where are we? Oh, there it is. I'm going to use the shape builder tool, which I honestly just recently learned how to use effectively. So this is a fun one. If you select two different items, or probably more than that, and then if you like hover over it with it, you can see that the different like segments where it's overlapping are kind of turning into this like gray like mesh. So if I click on if I click on the ones that are like overlapping, maybe I'm making a liar out of myself here, but
I think you can click and drag with your, let's see.
I know how to like cut out things with it, I think.
Oh, okay. So, you wanted to cut out the top elements?
Yeah. I'm trying to just like combine them, but I might just use my old trick of the Pathfinder tool.
Yeah. You can also do the divide tool in Pathfinder. That will kind of, there we go. That works too. In this case, that was quite easy. You just have to remove those two anchor points and then you're good to go.
All right, so I'm going to undo because I'm seeing that this is, it did what I, it did what I wanted. It just didn't.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So I'm seeing that this is not like the same width as the rest of it. And I want it to kind of be that way. There we go. I'm going to just add more stroke to it. There's probably an easier way to do that, but I like to kind of play with it. So I usually just kind of like eyeball these things and just kind of like add some strokes. So I feel like that's,
you could get really precise, but I think at this stage, we're just like trying to get quantity in, right? Different concepts that we can pick from. And then I also, in this phase, I'm also not really into like details and trying to make it perfect. You know, it's all about the concept at this point.
Yeah, it's just like experimentation and just playing around with things. Okay, so I see what I needed to do with the shape tool. So if I click on hello, I swear I know how to use Illustrator. So if I click on that, it made its own separate shape. So then I can just delete it and I don't have to do all of the endpoint things. But so
awesome.
that's kind of cute. Not sure, but I might keep it in my back pocket.
And that H can also be like a graphical element that you can use throughout the brand by itself, right?
Yeah.
So it can be that icon basically that you were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. It's cute.
Oh, and I've accidentally turned on my perspective grid. I feel like I'm always doing that.
Yeah. The perspective grid is also great if you are, I don't know, maybe drawing out some 3D objects or maybe doing illustration. And sometimes even if you want to create a 3D letter, that's also fun.
Oh, yeah. I was really into doing that for a while there.
Yeah. Have you ever used the 3D tool?
Yeah, I think so. I have,
it's fun.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to. I did a lot of like the, what do you call it? Like warp and distort and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's like another kind of quick and easy way to do it. But yeah, absolutely. So I feel like we're this is usually what happens is like some things are starting to come together here. So I'll usually like drag them over to their own little like pocket so that I can keep an eye on them.
Making little boxes of ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
I'm gonna start. This is the I would say the issue with doing like passion projects is like I don't have a clear, I'm just like playing, I feel like. So it's kind of hard. Like obviously I have like several different kinds of like treatments here. I like this, but I feel like it's not quite what I'm going for this brand. It's a little more, I would say like not harsh, but a little bit more, not as like soft and feminine as I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah, you want something a little bit more refined, more like feminine, elegant. Yeah, I totally agree. What I find helpful with that is like when you don't know, you kind of can imagine that specific brand. I think it's important to really imagine a specific target audience. So even if it's a passion project, just imagine the people who you want to kind of attract to this, right? So
yeah, I would agree. I feel like I'm onto something here.
And there's also a really cool tool online that you can use. So in case it's really hard for some of you to create yourself a project brief, or maybe you want something like super random, there is something that's called, I think, the Good Brief. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, it's called goodbrief.io. And it basically gives you random design briefs that you can use for passion projects. I just posted the link into the chat. Yeah, and there you can kind of decide the type of work that you want to do. Do you want to do a logo design, illustration, brand identity, packaging, whatever it is? And then you can also decide the industry. So there is retail, entertainment, real estate, transportation, education, whatever. I think, when designing for passion projects that you are going to put into your portfolio, think of the target audience that you want to attract with your portfolio, right? Because by showing projects that your potential clients can relate with, let's say you love working with retail, like real estate clients, then put some projects into your portfolio that have to do with real estate. That will help them kind of find their their target audience in your projects, and it will also confirm for them that you're the right person to hire for their project. So put into your portfolio whatever you want more of in the future. So yeah, that's kind of how I would choose the industry that, to put into Good Brief. Or into any of the passion projects that you're working on.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip is like, choosing, kind of focusing on what you want to attract, because that's really, I would say, the main kind of driving factor to do these passion projects is because you kind of want, maybe you previously worked with a specific industry and now it's just like not really like what you wanted to focus on. That's, I think, when these are like really, really helpful. So yeah, I think I've used a good brief. I think there's one that's called like designer size. So like exercise and designer. That one's fun. And yeah, there's a few of them that I've used that when I'm just like, I have no idea what I want to
do. Oops. 1 second. So I wanted to post the link into the chat real quick. Okay, it's called designersize.com. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Vuduval in the chat is saying, I think you can literally build an entire business just based on the great resources Julia has to share.
Honestly.
That's so funny. Thank you so much, Val. I see it as a compliment. Okay. Oh yeah, Carol, also great tip. So another resource for generation of random names. So what I like to do is I like to use a random word generator. And sometimes you don't know what you're going to be designing for unless you kind of read the name. And sometimes I just open the random word generator. So for example, sometimes when I'm doing either passion projects or maybe I just want to be really experimental, we also have some, I also do like a show that's called Branding Wheel of Fortune, where we're kind of like creating a random brand. And sometimes it helps just to have a random word as the brand name. So then I just go through the different random words, and sometimes it's just the perfect name for a specific business that I have in mind, or a specific brand that I have in mind. So that's just another cool, randomwordgenerator.com is also really cool to use for that. And when I'm working with, let's say, trying to describe values of a brand, like when I'm designing for brand identity and I'm going through the brand values, I am trying to generate words that are similar to what I want to kind of be the value of the business.
Sure.
Right? Because I want to have a little bit more versatile kind of meaning in the brand values. I want to describe it maybe with 5 words instead of 1. So for that, there is also the synonyms. I think it's synonyms.com to use synonyms. So that's, just working with copy, just working with words, and being more creative with the way you word something can really be helpful in designing a brand, and can also give you some inspiration for your designs.
Yeah, I know that there's something similar to that too, that's like, I think it's like called like fantasy name generator, but they have like all sorts of different things. So they have like fictional business name generators and like just anything that you could possibly want to generate a name for. So I've definitely used that like for my own things a few times too, when I just like cannot think of anything. Another thing that I'll do when I'm like trying to think of a name for a passion project is like look through my like playlists on Spotify to see if I have like, I don't know, get like inspiration from like a particularly poetic song name or something.
Oh yeah, that's also a really cool idea. If you have any inspirational resources, share them in the chat. We'd love to know.
Yes.
Cool. Vuduval, share a little bit more with us. What are your secret resources that you use in your work?
So if you're curious what I'm doing, I really like this script, but it's kind of like jagged and I don't really love that. So I'm using the smooth tool. I've outlined it and I'm just kind of going over it and just kind of like playing with it until it kind of is like molded into more of what I'm thinking.
Cool.
Yeah. You can see like the difference between the live text.
The smooth tool, right? Can you show it again?
Yeah. Cool. And you just kind of like, well, I just kind of.
And when you double click on the tool, can you quickly double click on it? Oh yeah. So yeah, there usually when you double click on the tools, you get several more options. So there you can actually like set a little bit more precisely what you want to.
Yeah.
I also love doing that for the pencil tool.
Oh
because I
yeah.
think even with my mouse, because I'm usually working with my mouse, right, on my iMac, and so even then I'm still able to draw somewhat decent curves, smooth curvature in the pencil tool.
Yeah, that's a good one. The pencil tool and I use the like blob tool, I think it's called a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just so that I have like, I'm making like little blobs or whatever. It fills it in a little bit easier. But yeah, so I'm just kind of like running it over the endpoints, and so it's kind of just like firming up a little bit and looks a little bit less like rough, I would say. This font is really gorgeous and obviously was like hand lettered by somebody, but it's a little rougher than what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Cool. And we have another one, fakeclients.com. So if you want another kind of brief generator, I guess, I want to check it out.
That's fun.
It
I like the name.
Fun. Fake clients. Cool. Wow. And they're like actual written briefs. So they're a little bit longer, a little bit more into detail. Love that. Cool. And then you can see work by others. So in fakeclients.com, you can actually see how somebody designs solutions for that specific brief. So that's cool. Another level to that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so I feel like we're getting somewhere. I really like this script font that we've smoothed out now.
So. Cool. And yeah, typewolf.com, also a great resource for finding font combinations.
Yes.
Really cool.
Yeah, Typewolf and fonts in use is another one that I look at a lot. It's very similar like idea, just like showing you different things, usually websites and stuff, and like identifying which fonts they're using, which is just really nice. And it's just fun to look at too.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that. I think it's really helpful to see how the typeface is actually used in context. So I'm loving this. And there are some amazing brands that are so cool and colorful and modern. I'm definitely saving this one. Thank you. So cool. I love it. Yeah, this is good. Okay, fonts in use, and we have getwaves.io.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, you can make custom random waves, just like the blob generator. Which is blobmaker.app, where you can create random blobs. You can also generate waves. That's cool. I love that.
Okay. So now that I feel like I've kind of latched onto a direction, an idea, this is where I just start like copying and pasting like crazy and trying out different layouts and different like taglines and stuff. And now that we kind of have our like main kind of like what I'm thinking of for a logo, I'm also going to come back over here and start playing with colors a little bit. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste this because I'm all the way down on the other corner.
Awesome. Yeah, the chat is booming right now. There are so many links to different stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
Cool. Yeah, some of those I've never heard of, so I'm going to have to like go back and look at it.
Yeah. Cool. Love it. How do you select your colors?
So I'll show you what I do is I have like my libraries over here. And anytime I see like a photo or like something that has like colors in it that I really like, I will basically just like hoard the colors in my library. So then I can just kind of like scroll through all of these and just like kind of pick things out. But I think these colors I was really drawn to. I think it was like it was partly from an image or a photo that I took at the store that kind of inspired this passion project that I'm working on, they had just like, it was just like a really gorgeous like color story with these like dark greens and like kind of like the peachy pinks and terracotta colors. So I was like, that's really gorgeous. And but another thing that I use a lot for like coming up with color palettes, because sometimes I'll like pick one color that I really like and then kind of need to find like the rest of the colors, is Coolors. So it's like COOLORS.co, I believe. And you can just kind of like generate random color palettes, or you can like lock, like if you find a color that you really like, you can like lock it in as well. And just kind of keep generating them. But this is what I like to do. Once I kind of feel like I have an idea of what I want the main logo to be, is just kind of play around with colors and see how it would look, you know, on these different, I guess, like applications. So I always do like a white or a cream light color on the color, and then like the color on cream. Just, I don't know, it's just what I typically end up doing. It's very like aesthetically pleasing to me.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I do. I have a similar process. And we have Fergie saying Lizzie wins the award for the most beautiful CC library. I love that. Yeah, I love it. I never seen actually someone really organize the colors by blues, browns, greens. I think it's a great idea, especially if you are working with a specific type of client over and over. I think it's great to have that library to have, you know, to be able to pull from.
Yeah, I just kind of got sick of like constantly going to like, that's not what I wanted. Going to like Pinterest or going to all these other things. And I'm like, I feel like I'm always going with the same like general colors. So I just kind of decided to make my own little library.
Yeah. So I love Coolors, and there also love color.adobe.com/explore, where you can type in a keyword and there will be a ton of different color palettes related to that specific keyword.
I love that.
So that's also fun.
Yeah, let's check that out too.
Depending on the brand that you are working with, I don't know, I'm, for example, I could type in cozy or something like that, and it will show color palettes kind of extracted from images that are associated with this keyword. So that's also really fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play with that. That sounds like a lot of fun. So basically I'm just making, I want like a circle, like a badge kind of like sub logo, but I don't want it to be a perfect circle. So I'm just playing with the blob tool to make some more unique circles.
I love that. And what's the hardware you use? You use a regular mouse, right?
Yeah, for this I'm just using a mouse. I do have a stylus, and I use that sometimes with like my iPad. I have the Apple Pencil, but typically I just use my mouse for these quick things like that.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, just kind of making some fun little, monogram sub logos. I feel like those are always fun to have. I feel like I typically use those, or like my clients use those a lot for like social media, like profile pictures. So like your Instagram profile, because it's so small that it doesn't really like translate as well if you have the entire logo in there. So I like to use something like this, or like a, you know, depending on the brand, like an icon or like illustration that kind of sums it up. But yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I feel like this is where it starts getting really colorful and really messy.
This is also where it comes to life, actually, right? This is where you can see, does this work? Does it not work? And you're trying to kind of imagine the logo being part of, let's say, social media, or part of a website or something like that. So I love doing that as well. So fun.
And something else that we're going to do tomorrow if we get enough time, and I was talking about earlier with like presenting things to clients, was I always try to do like mock-ups of things so that they can kind of get an idea of like what their branding will look like in actual like real life applications. So like for this, since it's a store, I would probably do like a storefront or like a signage kind of mock-up so we could see what it would look like there. Maybe like business cards, tissue paper, things like that. And I feel like that it really helps like me kind of like hone in on everything as well. But it also really, really helps my clients kind of better visualize, what it's actually going to look like, so that it's not just like some text on a screen. They're like, okay.
Cool. Yeah, if you all have missed, we have a conversation going about all the great resources in the chat. So scroll all the way up and you will see a bunch of different links. Just open them up and check out the different resources we've shared in this stream. There's so much stuff. As Buduval is saying, it's a business design business starter kit, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is cool. And we have a couple of people joining us just now. So we have Biola, who's kind of jumping over from meetings. And then we also have, who else is here? Clever is here, also jumping over from meetings. Cool. Yeah, how long has this been going? Over an hour now. And still an hour to go.
Yes. Yeah. Begin, we are creating a brand identity for a home goods store. And I'm having some fun. I hope you guys are too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big sucker for like watching somebody work. First of all, it's fun to watch the process.
Yeah.
And then second of all, I can just like sit there and just like relax while somebody else is actually putting the effort.
I know. I know. That's fun.
Yeah, it's good. I also love to do that, like with. So you know how like years ago, women will be busy with doing stuff like washing laundry by hand or doing all of these things or washing dishes. So now I'm just gonna sit down, like I'm gonna turn on my dishwasher, my washing machine, my Roomba is going around kind of vacuuming, and I'm just sitting there like, it's nice to watch everybody else work and just like sit there and relax.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like there's definitely, I also really like it too. Like I like to turn on these like Adobe Lives while I'm working. So I'm like, feel like I have coworkers or like feel like I'm at like a co-working space.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah. And then along the way, you can also learn some useful tips, like useful shortcuts or all the resources that we have shared today. So yeah, I love that. I also love the type on the path that you're doing right now. It's pretty cool.
I feel like that's one of the things that I do like most often, especially when I'm doing like logos like this. I don't know. I am such a sucker for like a round like logo with like round text. So I always
it's
I feel
so
like
satisfying.
It is. I feel like I do that with like every single brand that I work on, but that's okay.
Cool. Carol is saying thanks for all the great additions to my drafts folders. Cool. And Camille is also asking. Oh no, let's go to this question first by Janelle. Would you present all of these to the client then, or on the first round, or how would you present this work?
Yeah, so typically like I'll just create a bunch of stuff kind of like I'm doing now, and then kind of go back through and clean things up or like kind of get rid of things that I maybe don't think like worked as well. But then when I present it to the client, I will do like, I have a whole document that I do where it's like, here's your like main logo, and here's some like things pointing out like why I chose what I chose. And then I'll do like the color palette, and then like some of these like sub logos or alternate logos. So I would have like probably like one of these, and then, you know, one of these and kind of whatever else we end up coming up with. But the goal is to present a clear, like cohesive picture without overwhelming them. So that's why, I mean, I guess that's probably a good reason why we don't show our clients our artboards, because they would get scared. But
yeah. They would be like, I don't know if this is that, if this is it.
Exactly.
It does look cool though. Sometimes by accident, sometimes I'm jumping into my Illustrator when I'm on a meeting with a client, and they see my artboard, they're like, whoa, 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 let me see that, let me see that.
Yeah.
Because they see all the versions, all the work
Oh,
that you've
sure.
done. And I'm like, let me zoom out. If you really want to see it,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna zoom out and you can see it from afar. Don't get too
Mm-hmm.
close. Oh.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, but uh, I mean, I guess for clients, they also like to be surrounded with the creative energy that you have, that you're
Mm.
giving their business kind of this creative energy, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting for them to be part of it.
Yeah. And I mean, I know for me, like a lot of the clients that I end up working with are creatives as well in some way or another. So I feel like there's kind of that like symbiosis sometimes of like, oh yeah, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's cool. And then we had another question by Camille about
mhm.
mockups. So when you mock up your work, what are the software, or what's the software? What are the resources that you use for mocking things up?
Yeah, so I typically use Photoshop, and I kind of like my colors library. I have a massive folder on my computer of like mockups that I've collected over the years, but um, Adobe stock has a ton of really, really good ones that are like not the ones that everybody in the world is using. So that's if you kind of like go through those, you can get a lot of like premium ones that look really, really nice, and are a little bit more unique. But yeah, I just do a lot of that. Moyo Studio, Moyo, is another one that has a lot of really great mockups for like, they have a lot of like mockups for like computers and like phones and different things that I know a lot of designers use those as well. All right.
Which
So
might be a good and a bad thing.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things that at first it was like, wow, this is amazing, and then now it's like, oh my gosh, everybody's using these. I don't really know if I.
And you're like, yeah, I know it. I know that. I know that feeling when you're. So once I've created this project, put it
Mm-hmm.
on in my portfolio, and then I saw somebody else using that same mockup, and I'm like,
I know.
I thought I'm unique, but no, I'm not. And that's why it's so great to be able to create your own mockups. I found that every professional project on Behance that I see,
Mm-hmm.
they just take their own pictures. Like usually it's some
Yeah.
cool agencies, and they're able to take their own photos, and they're also usually really good in Photoshop.
Yeah, I've definitely done that a few times. Definitely not like definitely not like professional agency level or anything, but I do like to do that every once in a while so that they're more. So like I'll take a flat lay of like my phone or my iPad or something like that with like, you know, some things that I think represent the brand a little bit better, and just kind of make that, or like you just go into Photoshop and you can pretty easily kind of like cut out the screen and make it like your own personal mock-up, and then like nobody is going to have it because you made it. So yeah, I've done that a few times, but I will say it is like it can be a time consuming process. So if you're just trying to like get something up in your portfolio, maybe not the best bet, but okay, that guy is wonky. Basically just drawing little houses over and over because I want this to kind of be like kind of handmade looking. So I'm not like too concerned about, you know, I don't want it to be like perfectly symmetrical. Though the bottom is bugging me on this one.
Yeah. And Laura is asking, what's the typeface type on a path that you're using?
This is News Gothic Standard Medium. So I just snagged this from Adobe Fonts. I like it. It's kind of like almost mono space, but not quite. I really like it.
Yeah, I like it too. It looks very crafty. Like a real crafty stamp.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, I'm just kind of just playing around and seeing how everything kind of fits together. But cool. I feel like I
also love that circle that you've created for the stamp. It looks kind of like those wax stamps, you know, where the circle is not quite perfect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love those things. It's kind of fun. Yeah, now that I kind of feel like these things are kind of coming together, falling into place, I might kind of move on to doing like think we'll do like a little hang tag. So let's see, let's go back to our list of what they wanted. So I could do a pattern.
That's so funny. Gareth is saying now I have 89 tabs open in this window.
I know
Yeah,
that
because of
struggle.
all the resources that we've shared. And cool. And Woodval is also sharing Mockup Cloud.
Oh,
Cool.
okay.
Yeah, I love it.
I think I'm gonna make a little pattern with these little houses because they're looking pretty cute. I'm gonna switch them up a little bit.
Yeah. We have Piers here just joining, saying loving the irregular shapes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks.
And if you are watching and you're feeling shy to say hi, just do it.
Yeah.
Just come say hi, ask your question if you have any questions, and we'll get it answered for you.
Yeah, we're just having a fun little chat, hangout.
Design chats.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And another question that I had for you, actually, Lizzie, do you so what are like your income sources? Do you only do design work, or do you have anything that you sell?
Yeah, so most of it is design work. So like clients, like one-on-one. Late last year, I also started a sort of like membership subscription thing for designers. So sharing a lot of my tips and tricks and processes and some like guest speakers and stuff like that. So I have that on my site. And then I've previously like played around with doing like templates, I guess. So some for designers and some for like more clients. So like Squarespace templates. Squarespace is typically what I use. So I have a lot of things, I would say, going on, but yeah, definitely the largest majority is just like one-on-one client work.
Cool. I love that. And now you're also doing education here with us.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm really like, I would say passionate about because like I said, like I am self-taught. So I'm sure there were more resources than I realized back in the day, but I feel like I felt like it was just like me and Google against the world. So things like this is so, it would have been like so much more helpful, I guess. I feel like I would have maybe avoided some mistakes that I had to learn the hard way and things like that. So yeah, definitely like education and just like sharing my like, or sharing, you know, everybody's like design journey and kind of like their tips and tricks and their special processes. I feel like that's really helpful for like new designers, especially ones that are trying to, you know, start their own studio, start their own design business.
Yeah.
So that's something
I was about to say University of YouTube. You also graduated just like me.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Remember I took one, like, I was doing journalism. I took one like design course that was required in my like curriculum. So it was like, but it was like design focused on like newspapers and like magazines. So it was not fun, but it was something at least. I learned about the pen tool there. That was helpful.
Cool. Janelle created a bunch of bookmarks for all the resources. Great. And then Juanita is also joining, saying, hi, I really enjoy the segment and resources you have provided. Thank you. You're very welcome.
Yes.
Everybody in the chat, also feel free to share your favorite stuff, your favorite tools that you use in the design process. It will be also great to learn from you.
Yeah. I feel like you never stop learning also.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's a great question while we're talking about you never stop learning. Camille is asking, I know you touched on a little earlier, but when you first started, what kept you motivated, inspired to keep learning or designing?
So I originally got started because I was in my freshman year of college. And like I said, I was doing journalism. So I was feeling just like really creatively unfulfilled, I guess. And I started a blog just to kind of like have some creative outlet. And that kind of sparked like, okay, well, blogs were really, really big then. It was like 2012, 2013. So I was like, I want, my site to look as nice as these like, top tier bloggers, but obviously like I'm a college student. I'm not about to like, I can't hire somebody to do that for me. So I just started Googling and, I don't know, I feel like I've always been like a curious person and like a DIY like minded person. So it was like, if I can figure out how to do this on my own, like I'm definitely going to do that. So I just started learning and then realized that I was really, really enjoying it. And yeah, and just, I guess, so what kept me going was just wanting my own website and my own like brand and stuff to be pretty, I guess. That's really like how I started and kind of like what my like main focus was for the longest time. And then I kind of just fell into accepting clients. And the rest is history.
Cool. That's awesome. That's a great story. I love that. We also have a couple people joining us who are also a freshman in University of YouTube. Buduva was also saying that she also goes to University of
Yes.
YouTube. Love it. Cool. And Carol also goes to University of Twitch.
Oh, I haven't thought of using
Uh-huh.
Twitch for like design stuff before. That's
Yeah, it's like
fun.
a gamer platform
I
more, but
know.
I think like if you go to like Behance live streams, it's all
Mhm.
very design focused. So I've been loving that.
Yeah, I do love watching those too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And oh, and Jacob is here asking, are you still doing the podcast, the Design Lounge?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of on temporary hiatus for now, just because I have a lot of stuff going on, but I definitely would like to get back to it. It was a lot of fun. Podcasting was another thing that I just definitely YouTube and Google helped a lot. It was just literally like
Yeah.
one day I was like, I wonder if I could start a podcast and if anybody would listen to it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of went from there. I think that's the
Cool.
story of my entire like creative career path so far. Oops.
Yeah. I love that. And I also love how you're creating these 2D mockups for tags, right?
Yeah, I think they're just like cute and I feel like it's
Yeah.
easier to kind of envision things.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Cool. Cool. And Felix is here asking, hi, Julia Lizzie, interior designer here, interested in diving into graphic design. What will be your first recommendation for a beginner like myself? Be in books, habits, ways to find inspiration?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think it's nice because I feel like interior design goes like really well with graphic design. I would say honestly, like watching these live streams on Behance is a good place to start. And just kind of just like Googling. I feel like my philosophy for like learning stuff is to just like dive in. So like I would suggest personally, I would suggest learning Illustrator first if you don't already know it, just because I feel like it's the most versatile. Um, but I would just like download it, dive into it, and then, just kind of start playing around with it, just creating stuff. And when you run into something that you want to figure out but can't, or just want to learn how to do, that would be, that's when I would go to Google and watch a YouTube video and be like, oh, okay, I think I can do that. But I know there are a lot of courses on Skillshare has a lot of like ones like that. That's like more of a paid option. And I think Super High does as well. I don't know. What do you recommend, Julia?
Yeah, I love Skillshare. So the way I think is the best way to learn is doing like daily practices, like sitting down actually every single day. Because what I found, and I was like deeply thinking about my learning process and trying to analyze like what's the best way and how do I actually learn something new. And so what I found is keeping that brain muscle, that design muscle in your brain active every single day and going through the world thinking as a designer can help you really kind of practice it subconsciously. And once you practice it subconsciously, everything you see, you will notice the design and how did the designer solve this specific problem. You go to the store and you no longer see products in the shelf, you see designs, and it's just like this whole world of design opens up to you if you just keep your brain active in that specific field, right? So look at inspiration, make yourself like Pinterest mood boards, practice yourself. So take a design, like maybe take a packaging and practice recreating it in Illustrator, and that way you can also learn the tools while you are practicing something. You can also learn how, you know, text proportions are being used in packaging, what's the smallest text size that they use, how is the logo positioned. You know, it's always there's always a specific hierarchy that exists in the layout. So those things you can really learn from real world examples, like packaging, for example. Or looking at websites, looking at how do designers create their stuff, like how, like what's the concept behind something, right? And then another really cool thing is we have those daily creative challenges here on Behance live streams that you can check out. So before the stream, there was one. Andrew Hockradle is doing them right now. I'm going to start next week. So starting next week, I'm going to do a series all about, maybe I cannot talk that much about it, but it's going to have to do with a lot with logo design. So if you want to learn that kind of stuff, starting next week, it's going to be really, really fun, a series of challenges. Andrew is also really, really amazing. So if you want to start right now, you can rewatch. I posted the link in the bio. Not in the bio, in the chat. Sorry, my brain is already a little fried. But yeah, so I posted it. Vuduval also reposted, so you can click on it, behance.net/challenge/illustrator. There we have Illustrator daily creative challenges. The same we also have for Photoshop and Adobe XD. So that will be /challenge/Photoshop or /XD, whatever you're interested in. I think though the first step would be for you to see what sphere do you want to dive in first. Do you want to dive into branding, which has to do with logo design, color palettes, thinking about a brand identity? Or do you want to dive into UI UX design, which has to do more with digital products like apps, websites, any kind of digital experience? Or do you want to dive more into layout design, more, working in editorial, magazines, books, designing book covers, that type of stuff? So depending on what you decide is your passion or where you want to start learning design, that comes with different recommendations that you should get. So for branding, definitely Illustrator. For editorial, that has to do with magazines, books, that type of stuff that has multiple pages there, I will go and learn InDesign. And then if you want to go into UI UX, I would learn Adobe XD. So depending on what sphere you kind of are interested in, you can dive in. I've been talking a lot. Sorry.
No, these are great tips.
Yeah, and daily creative challenges. So practicing in combination with like daily practices in combination with theory that you learn, that you kind of absorb from your environment or from the internet.
Yeah.
Brush up. Also, another thing that I noticed, what really, really helps, surround yourself with that stuff, surround yourself with design. So brush up your Instagram feed. If you see a lot of stuff that doesn't have to do with design, just remove those accounts and like just kind of create yourself an environment that will inspire you on a daily basis. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that there's just like so much to it that you can, I feel like there's no right or wrong way to get started, which is the nice thing. But yeah, another thing or like something that I like to do, which you kind of like touched on, is just like, yeah, looking at packaging, like just going to the store or like going anywhere really, and just like looking at fun like packaging, different things, and you really do start noticing it like everywhere. Like somebody designed absolutely everything you're seeing, like billboards, you know, ads, commercials, like everything. So just kind of like keeping an eye out and yes, like looking, being like that explorer, like you kind of said.
Yeah, just put on your designer goggles on and look through the world with your designer goggles. And I'm sure you already have them because you are an interior designer,
Yeah.
right? And you were also saying about designing patterns. So that could be a great connection to your previous experience. Maybe you can focus on creating patterns. You know, that can also be a great way to make money. It's a very popular industry, creating patterns. You can create patterns for wallpapers, for fabric, for so many different things.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. I think being an interior designer, kind of like you're uniquely positioned because you already kind of have that eye and you already kind of have that mindset. So like I've worked with a fair amount of like interior designers, and I think, and also personally, just me being like really interested in interior design, like I find so much inspiration from like all those little like swatches of like fabrics and tiles and stuff. I love those things. I wish I could get those for myself without like spending a ton of money, but probably don't need those sitting around everywhere.
Another really cool thing that you can try out. So, Felix, you were saying that you were designing patterns in Illustrator on the iPad. What you can do is you can actually preview those patterns in your environment using VR tools. So there's, for example, something that's called Adobe Arrow that we have, and you can download it on your mobile device, and you can save your design to your CC library or save it for Arrow to see it, and then you can place that design on your wall. So let's say you're designing a pattern for a wallpaper, you can totally preview it in your 3D space with your live camera on your mobile device. So that's also really fun to do. I do that very often when I create, let's say, packaging. I love to just like place it on my table next to me, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, this is cool. You know, it suddenly becomes way more real. And what you can also do is to make it more real for yourself is you can print those out on a regular paper, and you can see, hey, you know what? So if I kind of like look at it closer, maybe there is some space that I need to adjust, maybe balance out the objects so that, you know, there is not too much white space in between them. And just experiment with it, be playful, and don't feel shy, you know, to try out something new. And you don't have to go the same path that everybody else goes. You can do your own thing. You know, you can invent your own type of design that you can enrich with your past experience as an interior designer. And that can actually really benefit you rather than holding you back, because you do have to start from scratch, but you already have that background that totally can make you a specific type of designer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say like having that unique perspective is only a good thing in today's like day and age where everything like on social media and stuff, like everything is so oversaturated. So anything you can do to have like a unique point of view is gonna go far to like help set you apart.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're doing, Lizzie.
Thanks. I'm kind of just, I thought, oh, they probably would need a gift card too. This like white on like tan, I ordered something from Madewell a couple months ago, and they had just like their logo on like white on the cardboard box, and I was like, man, that's so pretty. Like I would never have like thought to do that because you wouldn't think it would be enough contrast, but it just was like really pretty. So I'm just testing that out.
It's so subtle. I also love it when there's very low contrast, but then they play with texture on print. So when you have like
Yeah.
a raised spot gloss on a
Oh,
nice,
yeah.
yeah, on a nice matte finished background. Oh, I love it.
Absolutely.
Cool. And we have another question by Jacob in the chat. How can new
Mhm.
designers find clients?
That's always the $1,000,000 question. No, I would say, well, I feel like I sound like a broken record, but I would honestly say that like creating these passion projects so that you have a nice portfolio, full of things that really represent what you want to do. So getting really clear on, who specifically you want to work with. And I would say the more specific you can get about that, the better. So, niching down or whatever you want to call it, it's always kind of good to be like the expert serving a particular like market. So getting clear on that first for yourself, and then, creating projects, or, like we said earlier, finding those like pro bono ones or working with friends that have like a similar aesthetic that you're aiming towards. That's a great way to really fill up your portfolio. Because you're going to attract more of what you put out there, essentially. So if you have, if your portfolio has a lot of like, for instance, really like masculine styles, but you want to attract more like feminine clients, you're going to have a harder time because they're not seeing that reflected in your work, even though, that you're capable of doing it. So I would say that. And then I would say once you kind of have these projects that you've put together for your portfolios, just start sharing them like far and wide. So Instagram and Pinterest are both, I would say they're like my go-to platforms for sharing creative work, because that's where people are like searching for creative work. And it can really help, like Pinterest especially, I love, because it's a little bit, with Instagram, you're fighting with like the algorithm and you're fighting with all that stuff. It's, blah, blah, blah. But Pinterest, you can have like 0 followers and still have some of your work like go viral and like get a ton of inquiries from that, just by using the right kinds of like typing out like keywords in your description. I used to be a social media manager, so I'm kind of like getting into the weeds here, but I have a lot to say on the subject as well. But
That's
yeah, that's
awesome.
a really good tool for, up and coming and new designers to get their work out there, because everybody is searching on Pinterest for design inspiration.
Yeah, I love that. That's true. And I also found that Behance is a great platform as well for
Yes.
putting out work. So I have my portfolio actually on Behance here. And what I like is that there's also a client section. So the clients can actually look for designers on, so there's also a job board and all of that. So if you want to check it out, it's fairly new. So if you can click onto jobs and you can find different jobs that you can apply for. And in the same way, clients can also search for designers in their specific industry. And I actually got so many requests through Behance, especially when you get featured. You can get so many eyes on your work. And I found a lot of really cool clients who are, just coming up with a product, who have a decent budget, and there are really good clients out there on Behance. And I was actually really surprised in the beginning, because I wasn't sure, Behance was kind of just like starting out and kind of popping up in the design world, and now it's really established, and there are so many people looking for designers. And just because it's so design specific, right? I mean, like on Pinterest and on those job or like platforms, you can find literally anything, or on Instagram, right? You can find literally anything. But Behance is very, very specific, which I think can be really helpful for you to not only get inspiration from other designers, but also to put your work out there in this specific industry.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because if somebody is is looking for someone on Behance, like they know they are looking for a designer, like they kind of like know what they want, they know what they're in for, they're not just surfing the internet. So that's a really good point too.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, check out Lizzie's Behance, and it's linked in the info box right above the chat. So if you click onto info, you can find her featured in the stream, and you can click directly onto her profile and go check out her projects, see the case studies, the way they're put together. And I really love the way you are very kind of visual in the way you present your work. So there's a lot of amazing lifestyle images that are really bring the feeling to the product, and not just kind of describing it, right?
Yeah. I feel like I found that helps. I mean, it helps me. That's just kind of like the way I think too, but it helps potential clients and, other people kind of really get an idea without being able to hold the product or whatever it is of like what it kind of is. So I've been really enjoying putting together those like more in-depth case studies with lots and lots of mock-ups and photos and fun stuff.
I love that. I also love the Velvet Elvis project. It's so cool.
Thanks.
Did you make the illustrations yourself?
I did, yeah. I used my Apple Pencil for that.
Oh yeah, I love it. Did you make them on the iPad?
Yeah, yep.
Cool. I love that. Yeah, that's another thing, another skill that is really helpful for branding designers to learn illustration, or at least, the minimums of illustration, and just be able to, sketch something out. Although I do not think that, we have to be great at drawing and sketching, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think if you have the skills, or if you want to take the time to hone the skills, that's great. It can be a good asset, but I definitely don't think that it's a necessity for, brand or graphic designers. But, for me, like, it was just something that I wanted to kind of get better at myself. And, I still wouldn't even consider myself like an illustrator or like good at like drawing, but there's a certain style of drawing that's just kind of like more hand drawn and like messy that I will go for. And so like, that's kind of when I will create my own illustrations. But if it's something more complex, then I will either like license some assets from like Adobe stock or something like that, or work with an actual illustrator. Cause like sometimes I just have a vision and I know that my skill level like isn't going to compare.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And sometimes clients challenge me, sometimes I see like, wow, it would be great to have a nice pattern to this. And they're like, so you can make it happen. And I'm like, I'm not an illustrator, but I can try myself, So that's kind of how I take on those challenges, and how I probably also get better at it.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have another question by Ruth. What was your experience with your first client, like when you just started? Ruth feels super intimidated to even start, because it's such a responsibility having to create work for someone's business.
Yeah, that is a very good question. I'm trying to think back all these all these years. It's definitely, I would say like it's always going to feel a little intimidating, but just I would say know that you've got this. I mean, in a way, like they clearly, liked what they saw and they wanted to hire you specifically. So like you can kind of take that as a confidence booster, I guess. But then, yeah, I would say be as communicative as possible. I'd say open communication is really, really good with any client, but especially like your first few. Know that you're going to make some mistakes. It's just going to happen. And you will learn lots of valuable insight from those mistakes. So just kind of embrace it. And yeah, I guess like, I know that like kind of having somebody's like business and brand like in your hands can feel very like intimidating, but I always try to make my process like collaborative. Like at a certain point, like, yes, I am the designer, I am the design like expert, and they are coming to me for my, advice and expertise. But I also want them to be happy, and I want them to love it, and I want it to resonate with their clients or customers. So really just going back and forth, and accepting that you're probably going to make some revisions. Your first several projects, it's rare to not have any revisions, honestly, ever. But yeah, it's it's exciting, but it is like stressful. So I totally get that.
Yeah. I think it is intimidating until you understand that it's all a process, right? That
Yeah.
you are kind of you're a partner to your client, and you guys are working on the solution together, right? It's not that you're trying to prove a point to the client. Don't put yourself into that position. Put yourself into kind of like the shoes of the target audience, who is basically the end consumer of the product. And then try to understand what do they expect, right? And try to collaborate with your client together to meet those expectations and to make it exciting and interesting and kind of attractive for them, right? So yeah, I totally agree with all of that. And we have a question of Pierce asking, Lizzie has a pricing section on her site. Not many designers do this. Is there an advantage to be upfront about your costs?
Yeah, so I feel like that's definitely like a hot topic of a conversation in the design world. I've tried lots and lots of different things, having it just completely like listed out there, not having it listed at all, and getting on calls and conversations with everybody that submits an inquiry. And now kind of what I have is people can like opt in with their email address if they're curious to see more like pricing, and everything that on my pricing page says like, oh, that, starts at these prices, and some things will be custom quoted. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both. For me, the biggest advantage for just listing it out was knowing that, if somebody reached out to me, then they had a good idea of what the investment would likely be, and they're not going to be totally shocked when I give them a quote. Because when I didn't have anything listed, I would get lots and lots of inquiries, but then half of them I either would like completely ghost on me when I emailed them back, or we'd get on a call and the expectations would just be completely misaligned. And I'm a very introverted person, so having like lots and lots of like sales calls or like phone calls with prospective clients just really drains me. So I knew for myself, I would rather kind of pre-vet people by having that on my site. I know that another big school of thought is not having on your site and just hopping on a phone call or something similar with everybody that inquires, and then kind of thinking maybe you can I guess talk people up to paying whatever price. That just didn't really work for me. It didn't really feel like great to me. So for my business for now, I've decided it's easier to just have it listed on my site so that people, and lots of people also still don't read it, but it's there for them if they want to try.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. I feel like every designer kind of needs to figure out their own path. And if you are a person who loves to interact with people, who just loves to kind of learn about their business, even though you might risk to waste that time that you could spend working to just chat with a client and see how you can work together, which is something that I do. I personally, I think it's valuable to be able to talk to the client. But I feel like everybody has their own, as you're saying, you're an introvert, it drains you. You don't really like that type of interaction where you have to sell yourself maybe to the client. So either you come with a specific expectation and you take it, or we're not working together, So yeah, it's definitely just a different approach. And I think for everybody who starts working with clients, just try to figure out what works best for you. Do you love the interaction conversation? Do you love the conversation? Is it actually an advantage for you to jump on that call, or are you just going to not, be able to sell yourself, or do you not want to sell yourself and try to prove somebody something, right? It's just about the approach that you want to take, but I would say just test it out, what works best for you.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part, especially when you're just starting out, is just testing things.
Yeah. And there is another really cool question. I love that one, actually, by Matthias, asking, just for fun, if you were a type, what font would you be?
Ooh. So I'm very partial to Roslindale, which is what my like brand font is. So I'll show you that really quick. It's just like a really fun mixture of like modern and vintage, which is like my whole, I would say my whole aesthetic. So as of right now, I'm gonna have to say Roslindale, which is this right here. I like the chunky version. What about you?
I love that. So I think I'll be a sans serif, but with like a little edge. So I love Degular display currently by Onotype. I use that for my brand as well. So if you go onto my Instagram, you will see everything's just Degular over there. So all my social media templates are Degular. I use it in my presentations. Yeah, it's just a lot of Degular.
It's a fun question. I love questions like that.
Yeah, it's a really nice one. And let us know in the chat, what would you be? And we have just a couple of minutes left. So we have about 4 or 5 minutes left.
Okay.
And everybody in the chat saying, oh, it's 9:36 p.m. here.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody's in different time zones.
Yeah.
Shashank is 2 a.m. already.
Wow.
Ireland is 9:36 p.m., 4:37 p.m. in New York City. Right here in Denver, Colorado, where I'm right now, it's 2:50 p.m. What's your time right now, Lizzie?
It is 4:50 p.m. here in Michigan.
50. So you're in Eastern.
Yeah.
As well.
Yep. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, I feel like we got quite a ways today. So tomorrow we're gonna focus on refining some of these like extra little collateral bits, which I've kind of like started working on here. And then we'll put together some more like photorealistic mockups in Photoshop. And maybe if we have time, I can kind of show you how I would like present all of this to my clients as well.
Yeah. Cool. I love how you kind of took the branding assets, like the logo, the color palette, the pattern, and you kind of created all of these different things, giving the possibility to imagine how those assets can be used. And I think that's so valuable for the client, because then they'll be like, okay, so I can do a gift card like that. Although you haven't been hired to design a gift card yet, right? Or the packaging or the labels. Yeah, so cool. So I love that. That's exactly what I do as well.
Sometimes it's just hard to stop, like I'm having a good time and I'm like thinking of these like good ideas and I'm like, well, you didn't ask for this, but you're getting it.
Cool. Voodooval, so speaking of who would be which font, Voodooval is saying I will be the Star Wars font. Joshua says I'll be the soap font. Have you seen the soap font?
I don't think so.
It's like a very bubbly round.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Cartoonish looking. Cool. All right. Let's see. Gal is saying, by the way, so far it's looking good, Lizzie.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I love it too. I think it's looking really, really cute and really, I think it really shows kind of this homey, cozy feel, and definitely has those crafty vibes that I think you wanted to incorporate as well.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I would shop here, I think.
Yeah, right. That's so cool. Yeah, awesome. Fergie's saying love to play with Dimension for mockups too. Carol is saying, Lizzie, check out Dimension for mockups. Have you ever tried Dimension?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna have to try that
Oh,
out.
it's so cool. So it's super easy. You just
Mm-hmm.
pull in a 3D object and you literally drag and drop the logo or
Ooh.
anything on that object, and it kind of places itself kind of warping around the object. So
Oh,
it's
wow,
really
that's
easy.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, check it out. It was so intuitive. I tried it out once and I was already able to create 3D objects with that.
that's awesome. I'm gonna try
And
that
then
out
you
for sure.
and then you can render them out, so you can set them up.
Mm-hmm.
You can maybe set up different SKUs. Like right now, you have the 3 different types of candle. You can use candle 3D objects and then render them out. And you can cast shadows and do all those
Mm,
fancy things, make it like really
cool.
nice and cozy. Yeah, I love it. And then there is also a new suite that came out by Adobe, the Substance. There is a Substance Stager, which is just like the Mengen, just
Mm-hmm.
way better. So I love using that right now, and I'm also getting a little bit more into 3D, trying to work more on texture and
Mm-hmm.
kind of showing, let's say, like print varnishes like spot gloss and all that in
Oh,
packaging. I think that can
yeah.
look really, really cool. All right, Lizzie, we're almost out of time. Let's take
All
a
right.
quick look. Let's zoom out. Let's zoom
Yeah,
out
here's
at the
the
work, what
beautiful
we've been doing
mess.
today. We went from logo design, color,
Mm-hmm.
having multiple logo variations, then applying color to the logo, creating a pattern out of those cute
Mm-hmm.
little houses, creating like a different lockups of the logo, then applying the logo to candles. We have 3 variations of candle packaging designs, which is, wow, you did this all in 2 hours. Don't show this to your clients. Don't show this to your clients.
Yeah.
Cool, Lizzie. I am so, so excited. I think we
Yeah.
have learned so, so much today. And definitely join us back for tomorrow's stream.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody who joined us. Lizzie, what's the plan for tomorrow? Real quick.
Tomorrow we are going to do some Photoshop mockups. We're going to finish off all of these nice collateral things and just kind of bring it all together.
All right. I'm so excited. Stay tuned for the program of today and come join us tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a wonderful day and see you tomorrow. Bye
See
bye.
ya.